what do you make of this, and what you know of Mark Zuckerberg and other leaders at the company? What do you think their reaction is to what happened yesterday? Slam dunk, or do they sort of double down and think we need to get serious about this? This is a real threat that's still ongoing.
I think that there's a pleasant surprise that the ruling was as clear as it was, that it was focused on a market definition that was probably inadequate, and certainly a showing of market power that was deeply inadequate. And so I think that there was a pleasant surprise that the case was dismissed the way that it was. And as you stress, the complaint that the FTC had drafted was dismissed, whereas the state case was dismissed altogether. So they're going to have to file an appeal, which they would be highly unlikely to win. And so the state case may just be done with altogether against Facebook.
Would that be a little complacent, though, as we were talking about with Julia, right? There's a new group of regulators coming in. Lena Khan, everyone seems to understand she is a force to be reckoned with. It's unlikely she's going to present the same case as her predecessor.
Oh, I do think that that's right, of course. But the judge went pretty deep on the reasoning here in terms of current antitrust theory about why the case was inadequate. And so I think you'll see, and the section on market power was particularly damning, is that the judge effectively accused the FTC of using the Paul Rudd argument from the argument of Paul Rudd's character from Anchorman. 60% of the time it works every time. They said 60% of the market. Well, 60% of what market? And how does that show power? And when the standard of power showing market power is generally 65% even. So the FTC has their work cut out for them to go out and outline that carefully and really rethink the way that they file. And they also have to think about going to the administrative process instead, where they have control over administrative judges internally to the FTC. They could go that way, but after quite frankly, a pretty embarrassing opinion from the judge, they've got to come up with a lot better argument to make this stick.
Yeah, Chris, it seems to me like, I mean, maybe this happens all the time, but very clearly here with many of these cases, they're working backwards. They're trying to define the market in a way that specifically fits the individual company. And the judge seems to have kind of called them on that. But then at the same time, you've got this legislation that's being considered in Congress that throws the monopoly issue to the side, it seems to me. It's simply saying, if you're a company of a certain size, we're going to curtail the way you compete. Does this perhaps accelerate the focus on that legislation? And, the judicial branch tends to give deference to the legislative branch. That could end up being a lot more powerful, right?
It's definitely true that Congress makes the law and the judiciary enforces them, but we have 100 years of antitrust enforcement, and that can't just be simply overturned by an act of Congress. The principles that the judge applied, the cases that he looked at extensively, in the two opinions, it was extraordinarily well reasoned about why this didn't fit in a classic, refusal to deal case, substantively. And then the market definition was ultimately the completely fatal part of this at this point. And until that's fixed, they don't have a case to go forward on. Could it very well accelerate a move to change the law? It could. But ultimately, we need to be having a discussion about whether or not American technology companies should be constrained by, a new theory about bigness that actually doesn't really have much connection to traditional antitrust law. The critiques of Facebook over the years about election, problems around content review, around all of these different things, haven't fit in an antitrust rubric, and a lot of people have tried to fit them into that. And hopefully, this will be a bit of a turn away from that. But could it prompt action in the Congress? Of course, it could.